Chris Peterson, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt inside the Beltway. I could not believe on Twitter last night people made fun of her. I am joined now by Congressman Mike Gallagher. You must have been pretty proud, Congressman, to have a Wisconsin dairy farmer up there, cheesehead or not. She was remarkable.
She was great. We had a couple Wisconsinites there on the stage last night, and I think it's great what they're doing, just highlighting ordinary Americans, Midwesterners, and talking about a lot of substantial policy issues and connecting those policy issues to actually improving people's lives, particularly people that have been in very difficult situations in recent years. I thought on the first night, for example, the president's engagement with the hostages that they've gotten
Yes.
back, that our mutual friend Ambassador O'Brien got back, was exceptionally powerful. And I think some of the speakers they've had have surprised me in terms of who they are, and just the powerful message that they've had. And overall, I've just welcomed the fact that we're actually talking about actual real policy issues, which was noticeably absent from anything that happened at the DNC last week.
Yeah, the Evelyn, Minnesota mayor from the Iron Range talking about being able to go back to work. The lobsterman in Maine, I mean, Susan Collins must have been very happy to hear him talk about fishing. And I know you had a fishing industry in Wisconsin. The Navajo Nation leader talking about, I mean, it's really beautifully produced. I got to ask you, though, about Kenosha. I don't know how far away Kenosha is from your district. I've never been to Kenosha. Two people are dead, and others struggling for their life. Jacob was shot on Sunday in Kenosha. What in the heck is going on?
Well, it's about 2.5 hours south of where I am, but I think we have a tendency to look in Wisconsin, look at Chicago and certainly New York and LA and San Francisco and think, well, chaos there can't spread here. But obviously, we're seeing it right now. And tragically, now two more Wisconsinites are dead. And I don't know how that helps anybody. It certainly doesn't help Jacob Blake. It doesn't help bring our state together. And the situation is continuing to spiral out of control, and it will continue to spread and spiral if Governor Evers does not act. And in the aftermath of Sunday's shooting, less than an hour after it, without knowing any of the facts, he went out there and he condemned the cops in our state. He talked about it as a merciless killing at the hands of law enforcement, and he connected it to Wisconsin's cycle of systemic racism and injustice. Now, we don't know the facts of the case. We still don't know if this guy was going for a gun. The responsible position for anybody in public office is to try and take down the temperature, but our governor has poured gasoline on the fire. And now, for days, we've seen rioters in Kenosha attack police officers with bricks, destroy businesses, set cars on fire, shatter windows at a local high school, tragically dead. And the governor, by all accounts, refused the offer of additional National Guard support from President Trump. And I just don't understand that decision as anything other than a political decision. We have to get a handle on this. We cannot allow violence. Otherwise, violence will continue to beget more violence, and that is fundamentally unacceptable.
Congressman Gallagher, I've watched the video a few times. I have no comment on who is at fault. I know one thing: I don't know what happened because I that video starts with Jacob walking around and not listening to the police. He gets into the car. I know he has kids in the car. I know all of what has been said, but I don't know the story. Nobody does who wasn't there, and it will take a long time. But I saw your lieutenant governor. I know Evers has been bad. Your lieutenant governor was out of control. I mean, it was incendiary what he had to say, and I am shocked. And I wonder what people in Wisconsin think about their governor and about this reaction. I don't know who got killed last night. Nobody should get killed in Kenosha with, I mean, anywhere in America, but in a riot. But that's what I've been afraid of this whole summer, is that the rioting would lead to murder, and it has now in Wisconsin.
Well, I certainly don't know anyone in law enforcement in my neck of the woods or across the state that thinks the governor is doing a good job. Or if they did 72 hours ago, that ended unceremoniously. This is incredibly irresponsible. Hugh, the position you articulated is the right position. None of us know, watching a video on social media, what actually happened. We should support a thorough, full, fair, impartial investigation. If the officer violated protocol, he should be held accountable, regardless it is a tragedy no matter what, and I pray that Jacob Blake fully recovers. But for politicians to speculate based on a social media video at a time when the environment is so divisive, all that does is pour gasoline on the fire. And so I hope everybody, our governor, our lieutenant governor, will take a step back from the brink here. I hope they will do what's necessary to restore law and order so no one else dies in Wisconsin, so no one else's business is burned, no one else's church is burned, so people don't have to live in fear in our state. And nationally, I think we are witnessing the dangerous consequences of allowing rhetoric to get out of control. There are certainly thoughtful debates to be had about racial injustice in America, about policing in America. At least here in Northeast Wisconsin, I just want to commend our police chiefs in Appleton and Green Bay, and our sheriffs have done an exceptional job since the George Floyd tragedy of reaching out to the local community, enhancing trust with the local community. And that's what it's all about. But when you allow this to get out of control, that trust tragically gets eroded. And our governor just has been asleep at the wheel here.
To bring it back to last night, Daniel Cameron, the newly elected Kentucky Attorney General, who's African American, the first black man to ever hold that job, articulated the party of Lincoln's theory on race, which is opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. I just thought he hit the rhetorical grand slam of the virtual convention thus far. Are you watching this and just amazed at how quickly the RNC has put together what is a flawless virtual convention?
Well, I didn't know what to expect when I tuned in last night or 2 nights ago when it started. And so far, as I said before, I've been very pleasantly surprised. I think in many ways they probably learned some lessons about the failure of the DNC, but I think it all gets back to reminding, middle America, common sense Americans, maybe even Americans that aren't card carrying Republicans, about what's been accomplished over the last 4 years, even at a time of intense division, notwithstanding some of the political charades we've seen at the national level. There has been a lot that's gotten done, particularly when it comes to the area that we talk about a lot, Hugh, national security and foreign policy. And then if you contrast that with Biden's over 40-year record of failure on foreign policy, I think there's a powerful message there. And again, if nothing else, I think your average American turns on the TV and sees what's happening in cities like Chicago, the autonomous zone of Seattle, Portland, and says, well, that's not what I want. So I think if we are disciplined over the next few months, if we continue with a positive message, and if we land this plane on a simple message of, hey, we love America, we think this is the greatest country in the history of the world. It's not perfect, but we work together to solve our imperfections. I think that's a winning message going into November.
And Congressman, I want to close full circle. We talk about two things on this show with you: ships and cows. And Mike Pompeo did a fine job last night talking about the foreign policy of the United States, and we will hear about ships coming up, I think, tonight and tomorrow. I want to go back to the cows. The USMCA, the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, I guess that has had a major effect in Wisconsin. If Chris Peterson is an example of a dairy farmer, they've got to be coming around to Team Trump.
It has had an effect. Combine that with some of the swift action that Secretary Perdue took during the pandemic shutdown so that we would buy a lot of the excess cheese from our dairy farmers. And then just combine that with the fact that it's going to be a good crop year and the remarkable progress that's been made on environmental issues, which is a dairy issue in Wisconsin. The farmers care deeply about the environment. We just had the EPA secretary here in Green Bay celebrating some of the progress we've made on environmental issues. We passed the Great American Outdoors Act, the most significant piece of conservation legislation in the last 50 years. So there's also a companion environmental message that we need to talk about. But definitely in my district, we're America's Dairyland. You're welcome for all the delicious cheese that we provide, Hugh. And we're going to continue making it and continue opening up foreign markets.
Well, you just triggered me, though. Whenever you mention the EPA, I have to tell people my son works there. So thanks a lot. Actually, I don't mind making the disclosure, but whenever anyone says EPA did a good thing, I have to say there's a Hewitt at the EPA. Congressman Mike Gallagher, good to see you. Cheeseheads were on stage last night, and I'm sure you were proud. Be well, Mike. Let me remind all of you that we need your help for